All right, hello, welcome. Welcome. This week I've been working on a RESTful API that provides a lot of resources from users, reviews, shipments, customer category, task, payment, invoice, product, and orders. And this is pretty much for an e-commerce business or any business in that field that might want these resources. So with this RESTful API, I've used Typescript and Node.js for compiling the code. And also I've written a test using Jest, and also I have my API documentation library, which is Swagger UI, and I'll just go through it quickly. So I initiated and came up with this. So in my source directory, that's where the brain of the code of the app is at. So I have my controllers, that's where I have defined specific functions for each resource. For example, I have the category controller. This has a few functions from get categories function. Um, it has create category and so on. And I also have my customer controller. Um, it has the same functionality it has several functions that are going to be used to manipulate the data in the code base and render it, of course, to the front end or the client. And then I have my invoice, order, payments, and so on. I also have my interface for the React, which is so that the controller functions can pass the data in the expected order. For example, you can create when an ID is created, it's accepted as a number, and when a name is created, it's accepted as a string. And the same applies for customers, invoices, and so on. And then I'll have my middleware for controlling the accessibility of the app. That is logging in sessions in the app. And I also have my routes, which are for navigating through the app when certain activities take place. For example, in the category routes, if you want to get a category, you'll be taken to the router.get, and that listens for anything to do with the get response. And we have the post, the put, and delete methods, which are the HTTP methods that I've used. And it's the same for customer, invoice, and all other 10 routes and 10 resources that I've come up with. And finally, I have my test, which I've written with Jest to test if those are working, if those endpoints are working, instead of relying on the console to test each app route. Okay, and then I have my invoice and so on. And as you can see on my terminal right here, I have all the resources with a pass. So 10 of those resources passed, which is awesome, and that makes the code more clean, robust, and user friendly. Now going to my front end for accessing the API, it said the local address of 3000, which is localhost, and I can access the Swagger UI by going to the API docs, as you can see. And now anyone with access to the API can see how the various endpoints can be used. Here, for example, with the get, post, put, delete, get for various of those 10 resources that I've come up with. For example, let me test one. For example, can I create a customer? I think I can. Let's see. Let's try out. Let's say the customer is just my name. So I'll replace the string right here with my name. Okay. Then execute and see what happens. I should have it as a success with the 200 message. Yeah, awesome. It worked. So you can see by default an ID is created, and you can see here I have Nyasha as the customer. Then I can access Nyasha by just typing that ID number. So let me try it out, okay? just one. By typing one, I should get my name, which is Nation. Okay. Where is that? Execute. All right. Okay, yeah. So you can see that I have also invoices, and pretty much they do the same. You just have to click execute and so on. And that's pretty much how the API works, and it's available on GitHub. And I'll provide the link in the documentation. Thank you.